super excited to interview today. I'm going to do my very best just to ask you very serious questions and nothing off that. No, we'll have fun. We'll kind of go off on some rabbit trails. We're going to have fun doing that.
Oh, I'm sure.
We're going to have fun. Well, tell me a little bit about where you grew up and tell me a little bit about your family. And I'd just like to know just some personal things that way.
My story.
Yeah,
essentially.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do my best here. So
Okay.
moved around the country quite a bit due to parents' profession, what they did. And I finally had the chance to decide where I wanted to live. So I packed up my stuff and I moved to Helena, Montana. And it's where I did my undergraduate work as well as hunt and fish my way through college, which was wonderful. And met a girl, asked her to marry me. She said yes. And we moved to Los Angeles area where I did my graduate work and got my doctorate of physical therapy. I had plans to do further education, and my spouse kindly said, we need to leave and go back to Montana. And I said, that sounds like a great idea. So we moved back to Helena. We've been back there almost another 10 years. It's been really great. I love Helena. I love Montana, that small town feeling, having a family of my own there and being able to raise the kids in a place where everyone kind of knows everyone. It's a beautiful thing.
Tell me about your kids, ages, interests. I'd love to know about that.
I've got 2 girls.
Okay.
They're 3 and 5. One is a princess. The other one's Spider-Man. So I have the kind of girls that want to paint their nails and wear dresses, but then as soon as they're done with that, they want to get in the sandbox and play with monster trucks. So
Yeah.
they keep me busy.
Yeah. You do know you need to build big fences around daughters, by the way.
So I've been told.
Yeah, well, I have 3 sons, and my daughter, I'm not sure, dated in high school, and she's beautiful until she went to college and came home and brought home a 6'7" Marine. And the boys looked at him and go, we can't take him. And that's who she married, by the way. So, but I did push it off to college. So that's a little advice for you there. Tell me why you chose Montana. You traveled all over the country. Why Montana?
I spent a lot of my childhood going up there in summers and spending time with family that was up there, and just not being surrounded by so many people and being involved with communities that felt connected, and the pulse of where I live isn't surrounded by a fast-paced world. I truly believe that time moves slower in smaller, more tight-knit communities. And it's definitely a place where I wanted to live and grow a career, but also to raise a family too.
Right. You mentioned some of the things you like to do. You said I think you said studied your way through school. No, I don't think you said that. I think you said I fished and hunted my way through school. Tell me about that. Tell me about your interests, what you like to do in that area.
Yeah. I'm a pretty busy guy. I'm working or spending time with family for the most part, but when I get a free moment, getting on the Missouri and fly fishing is something that I truly love. And it's always nice getting out in the river and hearing a scream downriver, hey, Bruce, my shoulder's feeling pretty good. I see my patients out there all the time, which is great. And hunting is something that's pretty popular in Montana. Yeah. Deer, antelope, elk, pheasants, ducks, geese. It's a great way to be recreational, respect the land that we live on, and be able to eat naturally and healthily for my family, which has been great.
Well, I was in your clinic there, and we'll talk more about your clinic later, but each person had a little bio. And I'm not sure that if they didn't have fishing or hunting, I'm not sure they could be in your clinic. So almost everyone had something about that. So it was fun to see. And
it's a very recreational state. And if you're not an outdoorsman in that nature, you're rock climbing, you're mountain biking. We have some of the best trail systems in the entire state and some of the best water in the entire state too. So there's always something to do. I truly think that your imagination is the only limitation. Skiing, snowboarding, of course, as well in the winter.
How big is Helena?
About 30,000, but I'd say the greater area of some of the surrounding communities, about 50,000.
Gotcha.
I remember back in graduate school when I was trying to match in clinical rotations back in Helena and Montana, one of the rules was if you got with a bigger clinic, you had to be willing to go to any of their site locations, which in Los Angeles makes sense. They've got 10 locations within a 50 square mile radius. It's like, well, you guys don't understand. I can't do that in Montana or, in Idaho and some of these bigger drawn out states. That clinic and that clinic, that's a 12-hour driving distance. And people kind of had a hard time wrapping their head around that versus places like Southern California, Western Washington, Phoenix, Arizona areas, these large metropolitan areas on the west side. All these towns just run into each other versus, somewhere like Montana, you've got a town and then you're driving an hour and a half down a 2-lane road in order to get to the next place that's populated. So it's hard for people to really wrap their mind around unless they're kind of living out there and having exposure to it.
Yeah. I had a chance to be out in Montana with you and actually had dinner with your family, your father and your mother and whatever. And by the way, I want to say this now nicely so I'll get invited again. So I don't really care if you're there, but I just want to be invited to the food. But tell me what you learned about leadership from your mom and dad. What is it that you look back and go, why I pulled that forward? And tell me about that.
As a relatively new parent myself, in treating patients and in business and in leadership in my state and in community, and I'm able to look and I think about my parents and what they were doing when I was the age of what my kids are right now. And I wonder, how are they there for all of that? I had the parent, they never missed a game. They never missed a speech. They never missed a debate. They never missed a musical. They never missed anything. And I think about, when we were living in New Jersey and my dad was commuting in New York City. I think about when we were living in Ohio and my dad was commuting deep into Columbus. And I think to myself with how busy I am right now, how do they do that? How do they show up? How are they able to be that present with everything they had going on in their lives? Yeah. And I asked my dad that. I said, how'd you do it, man? He's like, I worked my butt off. That's how I did it. I made it happen. And sometimes work is just work and you have to make things happen. You have to be willing to make sacrifices in certain places, but also be willing to not sacrifice the important things. And I feel like that's a very difficult thing to do. And it's something I'm still working on personally. But sacrifice is a piece of it, but being present, showing up to the things that matter, whether it's with your family or whether it's with your employees or whether it's with the people on your team that you care about, being present, putting in the work, being on the front lines, showing people that you're willing to be committed to the project just as much as they are. I think actions speak louder than words, and I feel like that's one of the most important parts of leadership.
I love what you shared about being present. I think it's something that's people say it, but very few people do it. Tell me what it means to be present as a father and a husband, and to you, what's that look like? And tell me what it means to be present as an employer. You've got all these people that you're hiring. Are they the same? Or are they different? Tell me a little bit about that. What's that look like?
I think presence is a very difficult word because being physically present and being emotionally present are two totally different things. And in a fast-paced world where a lot of things are happening, I think it's really easy to just have your body be there, but to make sure your mind and your heart's there for someone, especially family that you care about or a staff or a team member that you care about, can be difficult at times. So that's something I work on personally is when I go home, I take a moment, I'm sitting in my pickup truck before I go inside, making sure, am I bringing my best home right now? And same thing before I step in to work with patients or work with staff. Am I bringing my best into the clinic right now? And making sure I'm emotionally present, not just physically present and in the room.
That's awesome. I do a lot of work with executives of various businesses and whatever. And I was talking to one that I felt like was doing it pretty good. And I said, how do you do it? Because you're right. There's a difference between physically and actually being present, being there mentally and emotionally and whatever. And he goes, when I come home, he said, I sit in my car and I give myself a few minutes just to kind of bring down. And number two, I leave my phone and my computer in the car. I do not bring it into the house until everybody's in bed and I thought, that's a very practical, very simple way to do that because, the technology is just just one text, just one email, just one phone call. And again, you will find this. So your daughter's 3 and 4, is that right?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. You'll be walking them down the aisle about a year from now, and oh, come on, it'll feel that way. So just, that's a warning for enjoy the time, be present. You do something interesting. You are not only a father, a husband, and a business owner, you're involved in politics. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. No, it just depends. But what led you to want to get into politics? Explain a little bit about what you're doing.
I'm not a very political person at all, quite frankly.
Right.
Especially in today's world of divisive left and right sides. I care very little about those things. What I do care about is access to care and physical therapy and healthcare for my patients, for our communities, promoting our profession, and making sure we have the capability to practice at the absolute top of our scope. Protecting what we can do so we can continue to do what we've been doing and more. And I think I've been a physical therapist for long enough now that I'm knowledgeable enough, skilled enough to be a little bit of a threat. So I want to make some noise. I want to be bold. I want to be courageous. And kind of the next generation of physical therapists who want to make practical and meaningful change are starting to step into that arena. So working with the American Physical Therapy Association, our state chapters, calling our lawmakers, showing up to testify when we're trying to push different House bills through. It's an important part of advocacy of protecting not just what we're doing as a profession, as business owners, as clinicians, but for our patients too. And especially living in a small town where everyone knows everyone, it's personal for me. It really is.
You, though, I want to clarify, not only have you done all the advocacy, and you do that because it's important to you, you made the decision to run for political office. And what office was that?
I was a House of Delegates representative for the Montana American Physical Therapy Association.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you seeing some changes that are happening out of that? Because I know that Montana, and if I'm not correctly, Utah, in the last year have made huge changes when it comes to physical therapy.
There's been a lot of states and individual chapters that are really making some practical and meaningful change, especially this just last year.
Yeah.
One of the biggest changes that the physical therapy profession is moving toward is being primary care providers.
Right.
I know in Utah, that's the only state right now where physical therapists are considered primary care providers. But Montana is starting to do some things there too, where here in October of 2025, we're going to be able to be the primary care providers for workman's comp cases. Wow. So these small changes that speak volumes in regards to there are people that value what we do. And we need to continue to demonstrate our value in these unprecedented times of a lack of healthcare providers. Someone has to step up. And I think physical therapists are the ones to do it. And the infighting of PT, of what's better and what's not, none of that matters. We need to work together as a team to protect what we can do and to push forward and move in the right direction. And there are some meaningful things going on at the state level.
That's
across
exciting.
The United States.
It's very exciting. My last question is a little bit more complicated. I think you can handle it, but I love to ask people what makes them uniquely different and uniquely better. And you can run anywhere you want with this. And I've told this before, a lot of people get uncomfortable when I say, what makes you better? What makes you different? Because we're supposed to be very humble and self-deprecating. And right. I'm asking you not to be. I'm asking, in your words, what makes you uniquely different and uniquely better than other physical therapists?
That's a tough question, Mark.
It is a tough question.
I'm going to answer the question that you said. Go ahead and talk about yourself. I'm going to talk about one of my weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is that I care too much about people. And that includes the patients that I see. That includes the staff that I have on my team. That includes the partners that I work with. I put my heart and soul into everything that I do. And I have this pathway that I want to create for people to help them succeed and help them to win. But just because I create a pathway doesn't mean that's the one that they want to take. So rather than creating these pathways for people, which is something I did for a long period of time. I want to create opportunity and create meaningful change that they can be a part of if they choose to be or not. Because we all have different goals in life. Some of us want to be financially successful. Some of us want to leave a legacy behind. Some of us want to be able to go skiing every weekend. Regardless, we all have our own journey and our own trip. And genuinely caring about people to help facilitate whatever their goals, dreams, and ambitions are, I feel like it's a really important skill set and something I continue to work on to this day. You know, you suggested to me a couple months ago to read The Dream Manager. Great book. Absolutely love that book. And what we think other people value isn't necessarily what they value. We all have our own story. And some of that is money, some of that's time, and some of that's relationships. So being able to genuinely care about the people that you're surrounded with and figure out what they value and help facilitate that to come true feels incredibly important.
That I think what you just shared is a great example of what makes you uniquely different, uniquely better. I know that's a tough question. And I only do that because someone asked me that about 6 months ago. And I'm like, that's a terrible question to ask. So, but it's fascinating what comes out of that. And out of what you just shared, I think is very interesting is how often we think we know what people need. And I ran a very, very large company. And I remember one day being in this conference room and we're planning all these amazing things for people. And someone, I would love to tell you it was me, it wasn't me, said, maybe we should ask them. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
Oh, ask them what they want and what they need. And that's very, very important. And you're right. I love the way you had a little bit of a twist on the fact that you want to help people. You want them to be successful. But if they want it, sometimes they don't want it. Sometimes they want something different. We have to be okay with that. And my wife always said, Mark, why do you always go the second mile? Why do you always give people second chances? It almost never worked. And she goes, why do you keep doing it? And I kept telling her, why? It really doesn't work very often. And I said, because I hope that someone would give me a second chance if I were in that position. It's worth having that. I wish it would have been more successful, but I love your twist on that because I really think that's a better way of approaching it. So
we have to believe in people.
Yeah.
And we have to trust people. Relationships are anything and everything. It doesn't matter what industry or what kind of business that you're in. And part of that is genuinely caring about people. Not pretending to care,
right.
Not creating a facade. Oh, we're a family here. Putting your money where your mouth is, putting your time, energy, and efforts into mentorship, growth, and opportunities for other people to take on their journey of life, whatever it leads to. Supporting each other. It's important. I do think it's the thing that makes me unique.
That's awesome. Well, good. Thanks. I'm very excited about you being a part of the team, and I think people are going to enjoy getting to know you even more. But I think this is important for them to kind of get a little glimpse into the personal side. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Hey, it's Bruce and Ben. We wanted to take a moment to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Terentia Medical Education.
Terentia was created for rehabilitation professionals of all kinds to really work together to start changing the way that healthcare is currently being practiced and what the future of healthcare looks like.
We hope that our content and community helps inspire you to be a part of the next level of clinicians that are going to treat our patients out in the world today.
Beyond just joining us in our free community that we call the Terentia Tribe, you can also check out some of our events on our events page at terentia.com. Each and every one of our orthobiological hacking conferences and events and future events to come is really designed to help you really master and learn these regenerative concepts, as well as take charge and move the rehabilitation profession forward.
We're really excited about the orthobiological hacker certification, and we have much more content coming. So subscribe, check out our YouTube, check out our website, join the community, and we hope to see you at our events.
And remember, a storm is coming.
Thanks so much for watching.